Yo, back with another video. Quick detour away from the whole Trump thing. Today we are looking at Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. I've been looking at him and I'll be keeping track of him since his resignation from the EFF. We just want to pick up where he's going. We just want to pick up what he's saying about where he's been in the EFF. Should people stay? Should people run away like him? And regarding where he's going, he has gotten a job at powerfm to host a show. He got on an interview with Kari, the owner of powerfm, and thereafter he got a job. And before that, he had gone to podcastandchill. And we'll be focusing on some things that he said during the interview with MacG and Sol Penduka there. And it's regarding sex, it's regarding young people having sex, it's regarding whether it is good at all times for sex to be had. Is it something to be ashamed of when you have it at the wrong time? Is there even a wrong time, according to him? So let's get into this one and we will hear what he has to say.
Relationship with that's how upset you are with comms.
You look so innocent in that video, man. You look like you're still a virgin. You're
What
a virgin,
is innocence?
Man. You look like you just came out of...
You think virginity has a relationship with innocence?
Yes.
That's backwards.
So he's just been shown a clip of himself back when he was in high school. He was being interviewed on, I think, SABC 2 or 3 on the news. And so that's what MacG is referring to when he says that you look like a virgin. Of course, MacG being a strategist and podcastandchill having this audacity that has been demonstrated time and time again of bringing in a big person and then straight up asking them questions about the sexual details. You know that when MacG is making that slight comment, he's just making an overall slide towards the sexual question. So he's trapped Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, and now the conversation has begun. You look like a virgin back then. Oh, really? You think virginity has any correlation with innocence?
Backwards.
It is the pure essence of innocence.
That's backwards.
You don't think so?
No. That's,
Why not?
It comes from a culture that seeks to vilify love.
Okay.
And makes us feel ashamed. A culture of interpolating people as having to have shame for their sexual encounters. There is nothing wrong in sex. You should not, as a result of having had sex, be attacked by shame. We must actually remove shame, particularly for the girl child. The girl child is always grown in that situation of having to not be touched by the boys, not to, for themselves also, be comfortable with feeling, with having a positive relationship to their own pleasure. It's like it's a wrong thing to...
Positive relationship with their own pleasure, feeling. I think the doctor there is talking about masturbation, and that's what brings me to the weirdness of his comments. Let me quickly cue you into... This is a portion that happens much earlier, and it gives you some context to why I'm engaged in this portion.
I arrived at the university. So the first organization I joined was CAF.
Okay.
Christian Action Fellowship. Because, I thought maybe I can be called. So I can be a minister.
Yeah. Because you used to preach at school, right?
Yeah, I preached a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. So one of the first services was I'm preaching. Second week being in campus. CAF, they give us the service. We start preaching. Floyd was in the audience.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm Christian, right? And having been somebody who loves Mbuyiseni Ndlozi very much politically, I've listened to him quite a lot. And along the way, while inside the EFF, we first got in, it was for radical economic transformation. Then along the way, you started realizing that, okay, a party needs to have an opinion on other things other than its 7 cardinal pillars. They've got these 7 cardinal defined pillars for the black person's upliftment. But then, because political parties and politicians speak on affairs globally, you'll have known the EFF to have engaged the issue of Gaza. They've stood against Palestine. And so in entertaining those other issues, there comes issues such as, what do you say about homosexuality? What do you say about gay marriage? What do you think about transgenderism? What do you think about prostitution? What do you think about abortion? What do you think about the age at which it's appropriate for young people to have sex? And now, we, of course, would like to be in an organization that simply speaks about its core things, but because it's not possible, this is where we get to feel the heart and the soul of a political party. These questions, though I don't feel they're important for a political party, but they allow us to see a much closer look. And this is when I started getting closer looks of the EFF and its ideology that I just did not like. You will know, Julius Malema at some point said that people should go out and have children and the EFF will give them grants for that.
Enzana bantwana ngizawukhokhela mna. Don't be lazy, please. Don't be lazy. Enzana bantwana SG lingalali. When we leave here sicela ukuthi nibe busy, please. And I don't care whether you are poor or not. Enzana abantwana. We must multiply ourselves. We must leave legacy through our own children.
You see that when you're a Christian within the party, you are listening to somebody telling people to go and fornicate. And let me mention something small that I remember. Do you know the word FUCK? Yeah, I don't want to call it. The FUCK is supposedly an abbreviation. No, it's not an abbreviation. What is it when you take whatever? The words there are fornication under command of the king. It is said that at some point when men, during the old days, say men had gone to war and then a lot of men had become casualties, they died out in the war, there would be a lot of women in society and a few men. And so the king would issue an order for men to go and fornicate under the command of his kingship. So it sounded like Julius Malema was standing there ordering people to go and fuck. And so those kind of things, and including the EFF's actual response to the questions of abortion, prostitution, transgenderism, homosexuality, marriage, etc. Then you started hearing that, oh, okay, the EFF, with regards to its pursuit for transformation of the economy, they've got their ideas based out in the Soviet Union. They are based on Karl Marx. They are based on Russia and the system out in China. That's what they believe in. They believe in a government that is a father, that is a custodian of most of the revenue generating big things like land, like mining, like power generation, including manufacturing of food. They say that should not be the private sector's hand so much. The government should have a hand in that. So that is where their money generating ideas come from. However, their soul, their ideals, the answers to the question that they give around these other topics, you find that those are based out in the United States, in the Democratic Party, represented by people like Obama, represented by people like Bernie Sanders, represented by AOC, Alicia Ocasio-Cortez. That's the woman, you see. And Kamala Harris, almost forgot her name. So you find out, when you listen closer to the EFF, they are a bit bipolar. They've got their ideas based out in Russia and those places there that don't really promote sexual liberation, sexual exploration. They just kind of stay away from that. But then they go now to another place that does, and they borrow their values from there. When I started realizing, okay, so this is what we are actually dealing with here. We are pretty much dealing with a salad. This political organization has picked ideas from there, good ideas from there, left some over there, gone for others over there. And again, the EFF is also said to be populist, meaning that they are a party that chooses the popular topics and then they put them in a pot and they say, come and vote for us. They promise people the popular thing. So I was realizing, aye man. When I'm listening to Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, in some cases, in some areas, when I'm watching the EFF, you find them now standing, attending pride parades. You hear their parliamentarians like Naledi Chira being these type of women. You'll know them. There are these women who are just so passionate about prostitution, and they are the voices for sex work. And those kind of things really also started to drive me away. So now that you've heard about Mbuyiseni Ndlozi having once wanted to be a preacher, thought that he could be called, we are now at this moment where he's giving an answer, and his answer just sounds strange. It just sounds leftist. It sounds like an answer from the United States. It sounds like he's a woman. He sounds like he's a sexual liberator instead of an economic struggle liberator. It switches sometimes. He turns into a Russian and sometimes turns into a naughty little American who just loves salacious things, sex and its promotion to young women and the promotion of masturbation. And while I'm on this, let me also cue in a video that I've done before, a criticism that I've made towards Dineo Ranaka on her show, where she was also on this vibe, this un-African vibe that I just don't get, man.
When young girls touch themselves or even think to touch themselves down there, that's a naughty place, that's this, that's that. Why is it that religion has such a strong stance against things like masturbation and just a single human being's sexual expression?
So maybe because young girls will go from touching themselves to sleeping with boys at a young age, and they'll get pregnant, and it'll lead maybe to high abortion rates. It'll lead to girls who are fucked up, because an abortion isn't something that is beautiful. It's something that is horrible to the conscience and to your body, you see. So I don't know, is Dineo trying to give a solution to society, or is she trying to problematize a society? Pump it with more sex, pump it to younger girls, and never mind the consequences. Or when the consequences come, that's what allows you to be a radio personality. You're the counselor now, so you created a problem on one end, and now you go and catch it when it comes out the other end, and you're like, hey, sexual intimacy, you need to practice it like this. But at first you were like, why aren't we releasing it to all of these girls to have it? This is problematic, y'all. Africans are not particularly Christian, but the morality or positioning of Africans as it was one that is conservative. Women are conserved. And when you hear Mbuyiseni Ndlozi saying that this comes from a culture that seeks to control and shame and make it difficult for young women to experience being touched by boys or even touching themselves, dude just sounds like somebody completely different and far removed from the man who was preaching, which is what kind of brought me further and further away from the EFF. Let's keep on listening. I think I've made my full explanation. After he's done here, the video will end.
So can you translate? What's this nigga saying, man?
No, I hear what he's saying. But the thing is, especially for a lot of boys, and even for some women, sex is not love. That's the thing. And sometimes maybe we're protecting the girl child from falling victim to the lust of boys and men. And it is a fact that sometimes we just use it for our own enjoyment.
We can debate.
Meanwhile, somebody else is invested on a love
We
way.
can debate that, but
We can debate that. Saul is correct, and Saul has now even mentioned a key word to crush Mbuyiseni Ndlozi's point there. Men are lustful. As Mbuyiseni Ndlozi puts it, that sex is something really innocent and trouble-free. There's nothing to it. It's just a good, nice thing, like a flower growing out in the wild. And Saul says, no, bruh. This is something that is subject to very serious abuse under the hands of men. Men take women and put them in brothels and have them have sex as revenue generating units within a company. And You can't tell me that there's nothing wrong there. And you can't quickly off ramp and go to the girl child and say, the girl child, which is what I saw Dineo Ranaka doing. I don't know if Ndlozi and the Ranakas and the leftists sometimes get together at parties where they are, having cocktails and discussing sexual liberation and the primary market to which this rubbish needs to be sold to, which is the girl child, the most vulnerable, the one who needs protection. Apparently, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi feels, no, the girl child needs liberation. Oh, wow.
What I'm cautioning is the culture of making a relationship between sex and it being a wrong thing, such that you must have a shame.
He's just being verbose for nothing. He's not replying to Saul's point. He's now just going back to the culture, the boogeyman in the room, the one who is unseen but is responsible for the oppression of these women, and he says it's culture. So culture, by being conservative and trying to preserve them, although culture is just rubbish these days, we give it too much credit. Our culture changes over time. Perhaps we're talking about our old culture where there was preservation, but now even the culture is exploiting these women. Abuse is happening within the homes, and culture is nothing to trust, to guide us when it comes to morality. Only God, only Christ can do that for us. So Ndlozi is saying there's this boogeyman, there's this male patriarchal culture. He's just afraid to perhaps say that. Let's keep on hearing what he's saying.
Such that you must have a shame. So whether you are lusting or loving, there is nothing wrong with that pleasure.
When do you lose your vision?
Absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. And I'm tethering Ndlozi to who he was in the past, or who he nearly became. He nearly became a preacher. I don't know how strongly he felt about doing that and what conviction he had to do that. Because if he had a strong enough conviction, if he knew the Lord well enough to become a preacher, and if it was true, if he was being guided and being called by the Holy Spirit, if his convictions were from the Holy Spirit, he would never have changed. He would never have left that at the altar of politics. He would never have sacrificed that. He would have kept to it. So I think he was premature. Perhaps back then when he wanted to preach, he just enjoyed his voice and his singing, and he felt maybe if I bring a congregation together, we can have a nice turn up, because this does not sound like a man who once knew the truth. And let me comment on him and the shame part, showing you from the Bible, which he has read from. And he's about to quote 1 Thessalonians to wrap up this discussion with MacG and put him off. You are saying that there should be no shame. As a man who was a Christian, let me ask you, bruh, do you know Romans chapter 1 verse 25? The one which speaks about and people exchanged the truth of God for a lie. They exchanged and got rid of what God wanted for something else. And when they did that, when they flipped the script, men started sleeping with men and women with women. And God gave them over to shameful lusts. So, from the Bible that you once read, if you read it well enough, you will know they're shameful lusts. So God, seeing that people were pulling themselves away, wanting something that is completely crazy, he was like, okay, I'll let you go. Go then and partake in whatever you want to partake in that is shameful. So that's why it says there, in shameful lusts. So Mbuyiseni Ndlozi just clarified that whether it's lust or whatever, there's no shame to it. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. And now let's go to Jeremiah 6:15, for example. You see? As says, there's a portion that says, are they ashamed of their detestable conduct? No, they have no shame at all. They do not even know how to blush. So this is a Bible identifying people who have no shame, and they've even forgotten how to have shame. The state which it seems Mbuyiseni Ndlozi is trying to elevate people to, because people who come up with these new wacky, weird, twisted disco ideas, they say they are elevating your consciousness. They are bringing you out of a stronghold and so you can be as light as the air and float among the air. And nah, man. So let's just finish the video and here he will quote scripture one last time, further showing that there's a bit of a mess here, man. There's a bit of a mess here about what the brother believes and how it's all packed and put together. Doesn't Mbuyiseni have several faces? Is he a freak? Is he a freak behind the scenes? And then out in public, he's a politician and a sensible person who can guide the community properly. He says that he's thinking of starting a civil society organization. But AfriForum, I believe, AfriForum on that side, they've got a very dope model of that, my friend. And I strongly believe that Afrikaners are conservatives. Though they call themselves Christian and they are not, some are, The Lord knows who are. The Lord knows those who are pure at heart, those who love a neighbor, another brother, like they love themselves. But what I'm saying about that is the AfriForum on that side, they love themselves enough to love their daughters and love their girl children, love their boy children as well, to perhaps say no, virginity, sexual purity, innocence, that is a good thing. So if Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi is really going to be leaving party politics and is going to be finding another avenue to lift the society, I believe the only way to do that is to give people the right understanding, the truth about things, even though it hurts. You need to teach people to be ashamed of where they are, including people who are poor, People who are poor, you need to not settle in the poverty and love it. You need to be repulsed by your situation. You need to not be comfortable in it. In a sense, you need to be shamed of it. You need to want to be rid yourselves of it. You need to want to be covered with money. Poverty is stripping you and making you look naked to people. So have the shame of walking around naked and pursue to cover yourself. If Dr. Ndlozi is not going to be able to say, you need to be ashamed of living in that squalor over there while you've got this beer on the table, while there's a pit toilet over there and there's tin roofing and whatever. Come on, let's find a different pace, yo. Not the type of shaming where you're putting people down and condemning them to remain where they are, but let people have an internal reflection where they decide that no, this I find glorious, this I find shameful, this I find detestable, this I find admirable.
When do you lose your virginity, bro?
22.
20 years?
Yeah.
Hey, you're a late bloomer, eh?
Is that so?
Yeah.
Can't uqale nini wena?
I'm 16, 15. No, I'm kidding. Matric.
You were burning.
Matric. Yeah, no.
You were burning.
Lies.
No,
But I didn't lose it,
Yeah.
No, I didn't lose my virginity. I gave it.
Hey!
You see, it's all poetic and sexy. I think Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi has read a lot of love novels. He's got this eloquent tongue when he's speaking about sex. You see, he's speaking with a liberated tongue that is not afraid to love these things. Good for him, he's a married man. But bro, what are you saying to the young girls, yo?
In a proper encounter of mutual wanting each other.
Yeah. Do you remember what happened? Can you take us back to that?
Yeah. No, I will not do that.
Okay.
Yeah. You told me you are ZCC.
Yeah.
Yeah, that terrain of conversation can best be described by 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 11, the second sentence. Learn to mind your own business.
No. But isn't this the shame that you don't want to express your sexual encounter, which is a very pure act of love or pleasure, as you mentioned?
No. I think you're crossing lines. There's a terrain of confidentiality, and that's important for Black people. Because we're a people who's always invaded, whose confidentiality is not important. So you've got to know it's not secret, it's in the province of the confidential.
Yeah.
And that's important for dignity. Yes.
Let's talk about your background, man, because
It's time to talk about the background. Yo, that's the end of the video for me, right? Those are the things that made me get tired of the EFF, yo. When I thought of the possibility of rising in the organization and having to lend my mouth to these kind of things, having to go to a pride parade and affirm everything that people are doing there. If people are walking on the street naked and, you know, their liberation is to stand in the street with your boobs hanging out that don't really look good and your dick wagging all over the place, and we have to say, have no shame, have no shame. I was like, nah, I just can't do this. The Spirit of the Lord is convicting me against these ideas, and so I'm stepping away. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. We'll keep a track of him when he further down the road speaks more sensible things. We'll be keeping an eye on him to see to it that he is convinced otherwise, or if he remains convinced of what he's currently convinced of, we'd like to urge him to believe what he believes but not say it, because it ain't good. It's nonsense. Please subscribe, please like the video and share. I'll see you next time.